Unfortunately, a lot of the rock is pretty crumbly, and as you can see, it's been oxidized once it's been inundated with water. We're pretty near the soil surface here, and there's roots here. So I kind of stuck out in this town, and I'd like to thank everybody for not calling the cops on me. I think it's safe to make the assessment that I've reached the Don Redwood layer roughly 32 million years ago. A Metasequoia occidentalis, an extinct species of Don Redwood. All the angiosperms are gone. I'm not finding any. Just this guy. All right, Wingnut Paleobotany tour. Right here, there's the magic layer. It's like prying open pages of an encyclopedia somebody blew their nose in. There's it looks like a member of the laurel family, rather elongate leaf. There's a pine needle. There's a Metasequoia. So this was quite obviously a river bed at some point, as you could see from the collected amount of detritus and plant debris. So what metamorphosized means is basically it was cooked at depth and pressure. So, shale becomes slate, limestone becomes marble. The general idea, it cooks it and makes it harder. And this is definitely a harder rock than the shit back there that I was cutting into, which was crumbling all over the place. Now, I'm finding some pretty cool stuff right here. This is a liriodendron, a tulip tree, got some oaks, appears to be a sycamore too. What's so good about this is that layer right there seems to be like this was metamorphosized a little bit. So basically it's mudstone that was cooked. There we go, look at it. You can see there's all the good stuff right there. Couple different layers. I guess these are 20 million years old too. I stand corrected, much older than I previously thought. Looks like an oak baby, yeah? Back at the spot, back at it. Can't help myself. Like a 9-year-old at Chuck E. Cheese. There's the layer where all the good stuff is. No idea how old. Probably late Miocene, I'm guessing. Who knows? This guy I've seen a lot of. See those serrate edges, sawtooth edges? Look at how prominent that midvein is in it, too. That looks, I have no idea. For being somebody who's into botany and seeing all these 20 million year old extinct plants, it's pretty cool. Now, if you can find sedimentary rock, you're going to find nice fossils. And if you can find sedimentary rock that's been metamorphosized, you're going to find really nice fossils. The type of shit that doesn't break, where the fossil imprint's been hardened a little bit. Ugh. It'll be anywhere from 30 to 50 million years old. During the Eocene, which is the era that was... there were fucking redwoods growing at the poles. There was a lot more oxygen in the atmosphere, a lot more CO2. It was basically a lot warmer and wet. I'm just off Highway 97 near the town of Liberty, Washington, and on the word of a friend who works for the Forest Service, I was given a heads up on some Eocene palm fossils growing here in this coniferous forest. First one of these I've seen, these tiny elliptical ovate leaves. Got one of these guys too. Smooth edges. There's another one that looks kind of like this, but it's got pretty serrate edges. No idea what species, probably an oak. The other. Here's a piece of a palm frond, which is probably late Eocene we're looking at. Yeah, roughly like 40 or 35 million years ago, Climate was obviously a lot different back then. So if these are subtropical or tropical, which is what they imply, especially the palm fronds, that would mean they're probably older than 30 million years ago, because the climate was last conducive up here to that type of plant growth 30 million years ago. Suddenly I find myself entranced by a climate in which everything is so moist and cool all the time. It is a tempered rainforest of which I am unused to. There's a giant fucking stump. The Hunky Ducko was here to cut everything. However, upon the further inspection, I did notice that this is the type of sedimentary shale that would produce fossiliferous rocks. This one's not really that great of quality. I'm probably not even going to take it, but interesting to see. All right, now the size of this leaf indicates the climate was probably a lot different. You can see that black layer that's all the smushed, it's basically smushed carbon. It's a matrix of a bunch of different types of leaves that look like they're from a tropical or subtropical climate. Anyway, these are extremely old is the point I'm trying to get across. This is relatively recently after the dinosaurs went extinct. There's a broadleaf, so it wasn't all just conifers. There were broadleaves, angiosperms in there too. Oh shit, this spot is somewhat hairy. It's kind of a shitty place to be pulling over. But as you can see, there's another one. There's a big branch right there. There's a lot more diversity in the redwood family 50 million years ago. The climate was a lot different. There were redwood forests at the poles. All right, I was just outside of Bellingham, Washington right there. There's the sound over there. Nice. Good spot to find early Eocene, mid-Eocene redwood fossils. Here's a species of Glyptostrobus. Just as I was thinking what a nice place this would be to get hit and killed by some redneck in an oversized truck, I seen this sablite palm up there. See it? Embedded, tombed in the rack. And there's all this shit the county sprayed to prevent the... Anyway, I can't get over the amount of diversity here. I'm seeing all kinds of plants, lots of conifers, lots of that Glyptostrobus, lots of redwoods. There's a broadleaved. They're big broadleaves too, so they were probably very... So by the amount of material here, there's a lot of it, and by the amount of carbon, that's the black, yeah, this was likely a very vegetative environment. There's some more Glyptostrobus up there. You can see there's dawn redwood here too. See the bedding plane, the way this stuff was laid down, obviously it was laid down horizontally. It's been flipped up, so it's almost vertical now because of compression, and you could also tell that just by the amount of black here, this was obviously a swamp most likely.